Coach Teresa Ford here, and this is the Guiding You Home podcast. This is a thought-provoking and often humorous approach to moving you closer to the only one who can genuinely help you live a life of abundance and prosperity. Sound good? Yeah, it's you that needs to go within so you can sit in the driver's seat of your life, co-creating with God. So make room for more light and knowledge. As you continue to listen, you will discover elements of how to lead with your inner light, how to act on your specific promptings, and how to follow your spiritual intuition so you can fulfill the measure of your creation. Thanks for being here, and let's dive in. And we're back. We are back with episode 50, and I'm so glad to spend this time with you, because we're going to talk about something that has just been right at the forefront of my brain. And that is that when you ask for a better version of your life, it's going to require that you change. You bring a new sense of self to the table. And what's going to happen, I like to talk about our spirits as energy. So our spirits are expansive. They're huge. They're bigger than the universe. It's to quote Aladdin, the genie in Aladdin, and they're just stuffed into this itty little bitty living space. And so if we are that expansive, but we're kind of limited, we are limited to gravity, sleep, food, water, time. These are things that we have to deal with in the body. When we want a better energetic experience, we want to feel alive, we want to experience, have new experiences and grow, and we got to get out of the old energies. And some of those old energies have trauma attached to them. Maybe we had traumatic childhoods. Maybe we have had a nervous system that's just always in fight or flight, or maybe it's been in fight or flight so long that it's just gone into dorsal mode and we've just nosedived and we can't even dream about our life anymore. People are like, what do you want? We're like, I don't know. I can't think of anything that I actually do want, right? When those kinds of things are happening, that is an energetic frequency in which we're living. But we created it, right? We got to take responsibility for everything that's happened since we were 18. Anything before that, it's programming, right? We just are walking databases of all the programming we've ever received when we were thinking to ourselves from an underdeveloped brain as a child, oh, do this, not that. Oh, and do it because of this, not that. And we weren't right necessarily because we had underdeveloped brains. We were just looking for someone to love us. Like we just need you to see the goodness that we are, right? We were looking at our caregivers to do that. So we came into life, adulthood, as a certain frequency. Maybe we had low frequency. Maybe we had moderate frequency. Maybe we had high frequency, and it was based on the data we've collected. So if your brain is 100% made up of everything that's ever happened in the past, and your thoughts and your behaviors and your feelings are what make up your personality, but we're maybe not happy with where we are, or we're just ready to expand, right? Maybe we struggle with the past, but maybe we're just ready for expansion, but we're not sure what direction that is. We can't really sense how to do that. I'm just going to put this out there that your brain doesn't know anything about the future. Like, we can dream about it, we can have hopes about it, and we can even practice visualizing it, but we have not lived it, so it has not yet become data in our minds. Right? Our minds are only operating for anything that's ever happened. So we can remember good experiences, and we'll know it's something that we want to experience again, but we also know what we've had in the way of bad experiences. And then anything that has a sense or a flavoring or a hint of that now can trigger those emotions that tell us it's not safe. We might be criticized, judged, abandoned, rejected, something. That's what's not safe to us, because it's the little child that is the most afraid of those things. So in this space of wanting more, we're built for more. We're not all, if we weren't built for more, we'd still be crawling, right? We never would have gotten up on two legs to discover that we could also run, ride bikes, and drive a car. So if we are built for more, And we might want more love. We might want more money. We might want more satisfying relationships, and we might want more community, and we might want more opportunities to serve and receive service. Like, we might want more of all of that, most likely. And if that is the case, we have to make room. We have to like carve out a spot for that energy to live, to exist, and become this new state, this new frequency of becoming. Now, if you listen to podcast episode 49, I talked about why we're so exhausted. The staying the same is exhausting, but it's familiar, so we keep doing it. That's like we're just doing it over and over and over. And we don't really have a chance to evolve when we're doing that. So it's in the process of remembering who we are. We are divinity. We are divine children of God. And in that idea, then he wants an abundance of everything for us. He wants us to have the best experiences, right? Wouldn't you want your children to have the best experiences? Of course. Are we patterned after God? Absolutely. So he wants us to have the best. And we're like, no, it's fine. I'll work hard and I'll suffer. No. He's never asked us to do that. We're like volunteering, but why? Let's not volunteer for that. Let's just say that more is for us. He wants us to expand, evolve, have more experiences. And those experiences will include what not to do along with what to do, right? There has to be opposition in all things. So that's why if we think bad things are happening to us, everything has a learning seed in it. And that seed has been planted, so we'll know that our desires will grow into something that will be even more beneficial to us. But in that idea, there has to be a space. It's kind of like saying, I want a garden, but you didn't prepare the soil. Like there is no soil. It's like we're just going to sprinkle it on concrete. All the seeds get on concrete, and even though there's sun, and even though there's rain, and even though there was an intention to grow a garden, the garden's not going to grow because it's on pavement. There's no soil for it. And so we have to prepare the soil. We have to be prepared to do something we've never done before. We have to be in a space where the temptation is to go back and be your old self and do the things that are familiar, and we watch more TV, and we let's say we were a couch potato before, and then we were watching TV, and we were careless with what we were eating, and we stayed up too late to get the sleep we needed, and we're like doing all these things that bring guilt, because we're like, well, I could do better, but I'm too tired. I don't want to. And so you don't. But at what point do you want to? Usually it's a health scare. Usually it's your income is threatened. Usually it's your relationship is falling apart. Like, it's usually something that gets your attention to shift. But what if we decided to shift without the contrast, without the everything dismantling? What if we were like, okay, if I am going to have better health, then I'm going to go to bed sooner than later. Wake up more refreshed, not so exhausted. We're going to have to figure out a way to make sure that that happens consistently, because it's just so easy to remember that we want better health and then to forget how to do it, and want it and then forget, and want it and forget, and now we're like, never mind, I don't want it. I guess I don't want it. Is this resonating with you? It's like, are you hearing it? So when I decided that I wanted to make my inside and outside appearance match, I had to reverse engineer my entire family schedule, because that was the only way that I was not going to be able to stay consistent exercising every morning if I was getting up tired. I had to get the same 8 hours that I needed when I was going to bed late and getting up a little later than, but to do this new intention to get up at 5 o'clock every morning, just get feet on the ground, crawling backwards, didn't matter. Feet were going to be on the ground at 5 a.m. I was not going to do it on less sleep. It's not sustainable. We know that. So, like, dinner happens sooner, homework happens sooner, Getting the kids' story time happens sooner. Family time happens sooner. Everything happens sooner in the evening. So that they would go to bed an hour sooner. And I got to go to bed an hour sooner. And then I was able to get up. So sometimes you have to reverse engineer. That was me making space in my life for the new me I asked for. So what is it that you want? And what is it that you're doing to hold space? So every day that space is still there for you to step into and grow with it. What are you doing to make sure that that happens? Because otherwise, we remember who we are, and then we go back. Like, we're like, I'm going to build a course for women who want to know how to bake. And then you start on it, but then you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And our brain gets the worst of us, and then we go back to just watching our favorite baking shows and watch somebody else live their purpose. The tenacity it takes to stay in a new frequency of, if I can't figure it out right now, I will reset my nervous system, and 100% the frequency of who you are being is what moves you forward. So if you are being a frequency of doubt, I don't know what I'm doing, you are going to go back to doing what doubt did. Doubt kept you from your dream of building a course for women who want to learn how to bake. So you just go back, it's like, I don't know. And now we don't get to have your dream. We don't get to have your skills, your gifts, your talents as part of our life experience. We don't get to have that because doubt set in, and the frequency of doubt says, go back to doing what's familiar. It's all you know, it's safe. Instead of saying, well, even if I don't know, I'm going to do it because it's fun. I'm going to start doing the artwork for the book if I don't know what the content for the modules are. And you start having fun with it. It's like, well, baking can be messy, and so I'm just going to allow this process over here to be messy. That is opening up a brand new frequency of acceptance for where you are, how you are, and how this experience is going, so that you can actually deliver this gift that it was only you could deliver it that way. Only you could put your gifts in the world in that way for the people that are looking for the perfect modules to help them learn how to bake. Making space for yourself. Now let's talk about the nervous system. Let's talk about little you. Little you that's like wanted to be seen and validated and heard. She wanted to be understood, and she wanted to be seen as the bright, shiny little love bug that she was. Didn't get that kind of validation. She didn't get that kind of support, that kind of guidance, the kind of confidence boosters from the adults that she needed to really believe in herself. So then we've gone through life not really believing in ourselves, looking outside of ourselves for the answers, for information. Like, I don't know how to do this, so I guess everybody else is going to have the answer I need. And so we're like, we've just turned, our entire life is Googling it, right? Checking Instagram, Facebook, who knows something I don't know. How are they all behaving in the world so I can match that energy? Are you really going to get the inspiration you need? Because that's where the new frequency comes from, is you ask for the guidance, the support. Like, what's one thing I can do today that's going to help me develop into this person that I need to become? That's where the answers are. It's not on Google. Sometimes, but not really. Not when you're seeking personal revelation and inspiration. Let me just give you an example. So, I was a struggling mom. I was 4 kids in. Youngest was still nursing. And I found myself not being the mom that I envisioned myself being. I thought it was just going to be happy and cheerful all the time, and that children didn't make messes, and that I would just be Susie Homemaker, and everybody would love my cooking, and I could do no wrong. And then cue reality. So I was 4 kids in going, I don't even know what I'm doing. Help me. And I was praying for help, and I was asking God, like, you just got to show me a better way, because I have one shot at doing this mothering thing, and I don't want to blow it. I don't want to look back with a lot of regret. Even though I did have a lot of regret, I just didn't want as much regret as I thought I might have. And this author showed up. So I was praying for this inspiration and looking, and then it was presented. I don't even know how this author came into my awareness. This was way before the internet. But this author, Linda Eyre, wrote a book. She had 9 kids. She was like teaching them all music lessons before school, and she was just like this super mom that, would go put on her work suit and deliver magnificent speeches inspiring the world to be good mothers. And then, it just seemed impossible to me that this could be a mentor for me. And then she told a story that I just hit my funny bone. It was back when they had the big station wagons, there was no like seatbelt rules in that day, and the back window would roll down and the back seat faced out the back window just to make room for big families. And her kids had been at each other's throats all morning, just bickering and fighting and arguing and fussing. And she was just like, oh my gosh, I just can't do this anymore. Put everybody in the car, and they went to go pick peaches because she was going to do all the canning, which was one of those things. I was like, this isn't real. and so they go to the orchard, and they pick all these peaches, and they have bushels of peaches in the very back with the kids that were turning around backwards on the back bench and facing out the window, and the window was down, and suddenly everybody was pleasant on the way home. She was like, finally, everybody's just, they're not fighting, they're getting along, this is amazing, my prayers have been answered. And she looks in the rearview mirror, and they are taking the peaches and hucking them out the back window at the cars driving behind them. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you for this reality check. Thank you for showing me that you better darn well come to motherhood with a sense of humor. Like, I was asking for help, and I was asking for this expansion of my new self, and I was missing an ingredient. And the ingredient was humor. I was being way too serious, too upset that kids make messes. In my childhood, we were basically invisible. Like, we were not allowed to show that we actually lived in our house because my mother was embarrassed that she had 3 young kids the same age as my sister's high school friends. So my mom was literally 2 generations ahead of us. And so, like, we had to put our shoes away every night, away on the basement stairs so that there was just no evidence of kids. And I thought that was reality. So when I started using humor, I was like, it's a mess. So what? It's going to get cleaned up. This is just an example out of my life of how if I wanted expansion, and I had made and set an intention to be better, to do better, to be less serious and more go with the flow, I had to do something to open up the space to stay that new me more often than sliding back to the old me. Doesn't mean I didn't have days I was cranky and frustrated with my kids. But it did mean that there was a greater chunk of time in this higher frequency of laughter and humor and fun and playfulness, which resets the nervous system. And my nervous system was always rattled. I've always been in fight or flight. I'm hoping someday I'll notice that I shift into 3rd gear and I go back to that polyvagal state of just peace and calm. But until that day, I practice every day resetting my nervous system so little me doesn't get rattled with this constant need to expand, which that is who I am at the core of it. I've reinvented myself over and over and over. And in doing that, you have to make space for the new you. And sometimes I was in the depth of despair. Sometimes I was just crying to God, please help me, get me up out of this mess. But what I didn't know back then that I know now and that I can tell you about is resetting your nervous system. I think it was episode 47. If you want to go back and listen to that on my podcast, when you reset your nervous system, and episode 48, I also described little you. You have to know who little you is. And she's the one that wants safety and security. Well, she wants to know that all is well and that she is loved and that that she is protected and guided, right? She wants that. And when a new you, the desire for new you shows up, she's super uncomfortable with that because she doesn't know how to handle the new you. She doesn't know what the expectations are or what the rules or the guidelines are. So we have to reset that nervous system and bring little you, tuck her under your wing, and make sure she knows that she's safe in this new environment when things are getting so good, when abundance is rolling in, when we're manifesting the life that we dream of, when we're being the creators we were meant to be. We have to keep settling that little nervous girl that wants things to stay the same. She doesn't like change unless mommy or daddy holds her hand and brings her into the present where she has a parent figure. She may not have had a parent figure in her childhood, but she does have a parent figure with you now. And so if there is a hint, a sense, or a flavoring of danger, things are changing too fast and we don't know how to handle it, she's going to revert back to doing the stuff, riding the couch, eating the food, doing all the things that bring guilt and frustration and redundancy to our lives until you reset your nervous system. And what that does is it raises the frequency, because fear is a super low frequency. But hope is a higher frequency, and peace and safety, much higher frequency. So you're raising the frequency of who you are so that you can step into your new life and maintain that frequency without running back to safety. That the new norm of your life becomes what is familiar. We enter it incompetent and then we get good at being that new person. And that is what's normal. And that is how we have grown and moved forward our whole lives, right? It was not safe to stand up on two legs when we were first born. But through a process of rolling over and experiencing our environment and getting up on our hands and knees and rocking back and forth and crawling around and pulling ourselves up on furniture, eventually the old stuff wasn't that interesting anymore and we got comfortable with the new stuff. And that's all we're doing now. We're asking for a better experience, a new experience, something to keep our life alive and interesting. And so in order to go to that higher frequency of becoming your best self, we must take little you from the past and help her feel safe in the current situation of the desire to expand. When you're able to remind yourself, you're like, I can't figure out why I keep going back to doing the thing, that I have always done that makes me frustrated. You realize that is little you running back there, and you can pull her in and be with her here and show her that's not scary over there. That's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. That's going to be our best selves yet. She'll come along for the ride. The temptation to go back and do old things and sit and watch hours and hours and hours of TV, your life is just going past you without any growth, that's going to stop. Because you're like, it's kind of uninteresting to ride the couch anymore. It's more interesting to pick up a paintbrush and put color on the canvas. It's more interesting to sign ourselves up and go back to school, even though it's super scary. And maybe we feel like we're too old, or maybe the new experiences that we're asking for, the job that we're taking, or the shift in careers, or reinventing ourselves, or whatever it looks like. Even though we've never had that, we've never experienced it, and it might fly in the face of what your life once looked like. Trusting that this is going to work out, believing that you are built for more, and having faith that you don't have to know how it's all going to work out for you. Just know that it is, and reset that nervous system constantly. That's going to help you stay in a higher frequency as you move through this new part and new phase of your life, and you become the person that you knew you wanted to become. That's how you get it done. If there's anything I can do to help you in your journey forward, you let me know, because I got you. Thanks for listening. I invite you to leave your feedback and share your aha moments as you listen to this podcast. Also, you can access more information or any of the programs, courses, or worksheets that I've mentioned on these episodes on my website at teresaford.life. Or what I would really love is for you to connect with me on Instagram at teresaford.coaching and on Facebook at Coaching with Teresa Ford. so I can give you more interesting insights and further coaching to help you fulfill the measure of your creations.